This is the Metal Queens podcast. I'm Steve Richards. On this episode of the MQP, when it comes to breakthrough cross genre artists, look no further than renowned Australian singer songwriter Leah Martin Brown. Leah began her musical journey in the Australian music scene, where she honed her craft and developed her unique style. Her talent and determination soon led her to LA. Leah Martin Brown is not just a singer songwriter. She's a dynamic artist who continues to push the boundaries of genre and style with her unwavering passion and ever evolving sound. Leah is poised to make a lasting impact on the global music scene. I'm happy to have, for the first time here on the MQP, Leah Martin Brown. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, thanks for being here. So, how did you get into music and develop your unique style in Australia? Let's start there.
Let's start there. That's a fair while ago. I was always really into music as a kid. I always loved singing and writing poetry. I started playing the flute when I was like 6 or 7. But it's not very easy to write music to a flute if you want to sing at the same
Mhm.
time. So when I was 11, I started playing the guitar and I started putting my words and poems to my guitar playing after about a year of learning, because I had to kind of get the fundamentals in there first. And throughout high school, I was gigging. I did some time in recording studios, recording my songs and just seeing how everything worked. And then once I graduated high school, I went to university for music. I did a Bachelor of Popular Music through the Queensland Conservatorium, and I just really got further into the industry from there. Um, I've been through a few different genres. When I first started as a kid, I always loved rock and I loved metal, but I didn't really know how to make that translate with an acoustic guitar. So I used to write probably like folk with kind of a it was all in 6/8.
Mhm.
It was very like weird kind of folky pop rock, and then it morphed into something more of like a goth rock thing when I was about 17, 18, and I carried that through until I moved to the US in 2014, where I formed my band that I still am with. It's still something I'm working on, Evil Walks, which is more of that hard rock thing. And now I've kind of pivoted just for this album into like a pop rock kind of genre. So it's been a bit of a journey.
Leah, you said 6 or 7 you were playing the flute. So I'm guessing music was definitely important. Not guessing, it was important in your life. But how about your family? Were they supportive of you?
My family's always been incredibly supportive of me. I've been very lucky. They have always encouraged me to follow my dreams. They've really helped me when I've needed it. And they're at home, like waiting to see when I'm on the radio, and they share all my stuff. And my dad always comments on YouTube. And my mum is also like sharing all my things. It's really cute.
Influences for you, I'm guessing, and I was just watching earlier your cover of a couple of AC/DC songs. Big influence for you?
Yeah, when I first started, I still love AC/DC. Power Age is my favorite album. Bon
Mm,
Scott, I mean, Brian's incredible. No shade to
yeah.
Brian, he's amazing. But something about Bon Scott and his story really resonated with me. I can't speak today, clearly. Something about Bon Scott really resonated with me when I was like first heard his story when I was 10 or 11ish, and I just really latched on to his particular lyrics and the way he worded things and his performances. He was very charismatic, and you knew it was Bon, and that was a huge influence. Then Evanescence dropped Fallen, and I remember hearing Amy Lee's voice for the
Mm.
first time and thinking, oh my God, I've never heard a human being sound like this before. Like, what is this? This is the most beautiful thing I've ever heard, but it's so strong and powerful. And I kind of always wanted to be able to blend those two things together. And that's vocally always really what I've tried to do.
Amy Lee comes up here a lot as influences, of course, on the Metal Queens podcast. Have you caught AC/DC on this spring tour?
I haven't seen them this year. I had the opportunity to go, but I was out of state. But I did see them in 2010 in Brisbane, in Australia. I was front row.
Nice.
Yeah.
Evil Walks. Let's go back to Evil Walks for a moment. How did you get that band together?
That's an interesting story. I was brought over to the United States by a company called A&R Worldwide, and they teamed me up with a manager whose name was Victor Murgatroyd. And he said to me, we have to put together a band that's going to be super solid. I had a showcase in like 3 months. I hadn't even written the songs yet. because they wanted all new music mostly. So I went into the studio with Brian Howes and we just needed a really good band. So Victor went and looked at musicians through um, a guy named Barry Squire, who is unfortunately no longer with us. And he used to connect musicians and who were like looking for bands. So that's kind of how I found the very first iteration of Evil Walks. And then the musicians that now play with me, some of them are the originals. My drummer I've been with since 2015. My bass player I've been with since 2015. When he's not touring, I always make sure I have him. And then I kind of just bring in my friends or others. So, but to begin with, it was thanks to Barry Squire and my manager at the time, Victor Murgatroyd.
So Leah, Evil Walks, you moved to LA in 2014, so you've been there 11 years now.
Yes.
And then you went to Stockholm, Sweden. Why?
So I started working with new management in about September 2019. And Jens from Blue Lemon, who is my manager, he is based in Stockholm. So we had always talked about me going over for a writing trip in Stockholm during 2020 because he wanted to connect me with people over there and kind of get the European side moving. Unfortunately, the pandemic did hit, as we know. So I thought that that wasn't going to be something that I did. So I decided to move back to Australia. I was kind of done with LA for the minute. The riots were going on. It was just a very intense time, and I kind of missed my family, and I didn't want to miss the chance to get into the country because they closed the borders. And while I was in hotel quarantine, my manager called me, was like, "You need to be in Stockholm." I was like, Are you serious? I literally just I'm in the 14-day hotel quarantine. Like I just got to Australia. Could you not have told me this like I was like, do I have to be there now? Like, is this a thing I have to do now or can it wait a few months? It's like, no, it has to happen in the next few weeks. I was like, okay, not ideal. So I literally sat there, I booked my ticket, I spent my next 6 to 7 days in quarantine. I spent a week with my family and then I was off to Stockholm. And then I spent the next almost a year. I was living there for 10 months, writing and recording. And that is also how I happened into this Mutt Lang album as well. So it's good that I went.
Yeah, Leah, speaking of the legendary Robert Mutt Lang and also Tony Nilsson, too, producers, songwriters, how you got together with them, what was that experience like?
Honestly, it was probably one of the most difficult experiences because they're just icons,
Mm.
and the level of work and attention to detail that I needed to come up with was I thought that I had that until I worked with them, and then I was like, wow, this is a whole nother level. It was a dream come true. Mutt Lang was someone I had wanted to work with since I was 11 or 12, and I remember telling people when I was a kid, like, a little girl growing up in Burleigh Heads, Australia, like, I'm gonna be famous and I'm gonna play with Mutt Lang and I'm gonna do this. And everyone's like, there, dear. Like, I didn't become famous, but I definitely did get to work with Mutt Lang, which I think is far better, to be honest. It was a really it was also an interesting experience because the genre is not what I usually do. So it was a huge learning curve for me in such a positive way. Like, I do believe it made me, as a vocalist, a better vocalist. And I do think because these songs were already there and I had to play a character and get into something that I don't usually do, it's helped me in my writing down the road.
We're recording this here at the end of May, and you now have four solo singles out. The debut solo single came out last March. It's called Boys. What's the story behind that song? We'll start with the first one.
Boys is a very Boys is always a tricky song for me to wrap my head around. And when I first got it, it was a lot poppier than you hear it now. I think it's kind of, for me, Boys, the vibe is all about how men can get away with a lot more than women. It feels like we have to work extra hard at anything and be, better behaved and do all of these things much more so than a man has to. So it's kind of, in a very strange way, kind of comparing the two things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm gonna follow up question to that. It's female fronted artists on this podcast. That's what we focus on. How hard has it been as a female artist for you?
You know, I've never really tried to focus on that. I have been doing this for a very long time. I do when I stop and think and give serious thought to the question rather than just saying, nah, it's been fine. I can count many times that it's been a lot harder. I've been told that I shouldn't be doing rock, women shouldn't be in the rock and metal space. If I'd have just done pop to begin with, I would have been far ahead in my career already. I remember being 17 and one of my university lecturers telling me that men don't want to hear women sing rock. I should just stick to the acoustic guitar and pop, and I'll probably get somewhere a lot quicker. I had in 2012, I was offered, I think this was a scam, mind you, but
Mm.
I was offered a potential touring opportunity. I was still living in Australia at the time, and they had the tour routed and everything. They had a band headlining that is quite well known in the metal circles today, that's also female fronted. And then when they started talking about visas, they were like, oh, well, they started saying, oh, well, I don't think it's appropriate for men and women to sleep in the same room. And I was like, it's my band. Like, chill. What are we, like, super religious or something? Like, it's literally like my brothers. What do you mean? They're like, oh, well, but you could sleep in my room. We'd get you a K1 visa. I was like, excuse me? A K1 visa, if anyone's listening at home doesn't know what that is, that's a fiance visa. I was 20. This
Mm.
person was in their 60s. I was like, I'm not doing this. I called my mum because my mum was helping me with the tour. I was like, we can't do this. We can't do this tour. This guy's an absolute frigging creep. Like
Yeah.
as if. And obviously it all fell apart. Yeah, I've definitely had situations where things like that have occurred. And I think when I was younger, maybe they got away with it. But now I'm in a pretty good place that if it does occur, I'm very quick to very quick to put people in their places. I think the red hair helps.
Yes, definitely. The
Yeah.
second single is was Hysterical Love, which is out now. What's the story behind that song?
Hysterical Love, and again for me, like I do want to be very transparent with these songs, and I always am in interviews. I did not write these songs. They were co-written by Mutt Lange, Tony
Mm.
Nielsen, and another artist named Michelle Royale, who's also fantastic. So when I talk about what they mean, I'm talking about how I interpret them and how
Right.
I perform them, just because I don't want to try and take credit for, this is my performance and my interpretation. For me, hysterical love is very much about finding that thing or that person that just kind of drives you crazy and you've been waiting for them, but it's kind of making you insane. It's that type of love that just makes you go like crazy. Because there are obviously different types of love. There's the easy, chill love. We're like, yeah, I love you, man. Like it's cool. And then there's the love that's literally like someone's going to jail. So yeah, it's like it just drives you mental. Like it just, and it's a positive thing, but it's, yeah, to me it's a very much that type of love.
You mentioned there were three songwriters. How much input, if any, did you have into the process?
When it comes to the actual songs and the lyrics and the cadences, I didn't have any input at all. I was not allowed to have any, and that was something I was told from the outset. I was able to change two lines because they didn't make sense with the color of my hair. When it comes to the sound of the songs, so the actual arrangements and the guitars and the instrumentation, I was allowed to have a lot of input into that. That is something that they said I could do. And then obviously my performance and my interpretation. Something that Tony Nielsen did say to me is the songs that were his favorites previously kind of changed when I did it because my interpretation of some of the songs are different from the original artist. So that's like the demos. So that's very interesting.
Third single, Robert Mutt Lange, penned Shush. What's the story behind that one and your interpretation?
Yeah, look, honestly, I think that one's pretty straightforward.
Just Shush.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty straightforward. That one was definitely not something that I would be a lot more subtle in writing about something like that. So I thought that was a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed with the video. The videos are all me. I have the creative ideas, and I obviously have directors who bring them to life and add in extra parts. So I like the video version where I'm in the studio and everyone is being a dick to me, and I'm like, right, I'm just gonna become a serial killer today. Cool.
The fourth single on your new label,
Mhm.
Frontiers, is Are You Chicken? And speaking of fun, a fun video to go along with this one too. It just got released. And the story behind that one?
This one, Are You Chicken, is definitely when you're talking to someone and they're talking a big game. Like, I'm not someone who likes to do a lot of talking. Like, obviously, like that kind of talking. I'm like, this is redundant. Either come over or just don't. Like,
Mm.
there's anyone to me who can blow up your phone with all of these texts probably isn't any good. So it's kind of like calling someone out and being like, all right, well, you've talked all of this. Like, come on, let's see what you got then. Like,
Walk the walk.
I'm
Yeah.
yeah, walk the walk. Because honestly, at this stage, I feel like it's just going to be an absolute disappointment. I'm going to be wasting my time. I would honestly much rather be reading my book.
All right, Leah Martin Brown, four singles out. So, of course, the big question is an EP forthcoming or a full-length album?
We have a few more singles to go.
Okay.
I can't drop too many details. I don't know when this podcast is coming out, so maybe I'll be able to, depending on when it does come out. But there is a new single on the horizon, and there is an album coming,
All right. Yeah,
which
right.
is
If
very exciting.
you just kind of tipped it off by saying two more singles, so you're moving past the EP, the
Yeah,
typical EP length. So if you're getting into six singles here, so all right. So a little tease
gonna be a
there.
few
There
more.
is a few more and an album coming.
Yes.
Leah, how would you describe your sound now to someone who's never heard you, never seen the videos?
I think if you're talking about this current album, I'd say it's definitely a blend of classic Shania Twain with
Hmm.
like Def Leppard, and also there's a bit of Joan Jett in there as well. I do think that it's like a very strong blend, definitely of Def Leppard, Joan Jett, and Shania Twain.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. All right. So album forthcoming. What about touring plans, Leah Martin Brown?
I have some shows in the LA area coming up. I'm doing a really cool one on the 24th of July at Garden Amp. It's a warm up for the Warped tour. I'm going to be with Sophie Powers, the Millionaires, as part of the Gritty and Pink pre-Warped warm up jam. I think I got that name right. There was a lot of words. Tickets are on sale now. That's going to be a really fun one. I haven't announced this one yet, but we're friends. So July 30th, I'm going to be doing a special birthday show with my friend VK Lynn and also the guys in Super Space Nation. That's going to be at Lucky Strike. It's going to be super fun. And that gig is going to have songs from my current project, the current solo album, but I'm also going to be putting in my Evil Walk songs so people get an understanding that it's not one or the other, it's both. Like I am both. So that's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
After that, we will have some information, but I am not at liberty to share.
All right. So I know you're busy with the solo project now, but let's go back to Evil Walks for a minute. Any plans to do new music with the band? Any touring plans later this year?
So Evil Walks, even though it is a band, is still me. It's technically my passion solo project, but I pretend it's a band because I'd much rather be in a band. I have probably an album and a half's worth of Evil Walks songs done, just ready to like in the final demo phases that I would like to go and record and get an album finished and released. I do think I have some commitments to Frontiers. I am actually writing a new solo album at the moment, and I think some of the songs that I've spent writing over the last 5 and 6 years, oh, actually longer than that, some of the songs I've spent writing over the last 10 years, because I've got quite a large collection of songs, they don't fit with Evil Walks because they're not heavy enough,
Mm.
but they're definitely not soft songs and they kind of fit into where I'm sitting now with this project. So I'm going to just be playing around with everything and seeing what happens. And I definitely have a lot of new music that I've been sitting on for a very long time that I'm very excited to finally start happening. I also recorded an acoustic EP for Evil Walks back in 2023. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. My brain, I'm so tired. Uh, I've shot two music videos on Saturday and I just haven't had a day off. So my
Mm.
brain's like, anyway, just imagine like the mice on the wheel.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, that's me. They have circus hats. So yeah, in 2023, I recorded a acoustic EP with Evil Walks. I released two songs from that. There are still three that I haven't released and I haven't been able to release because this project came off. So I'm kind of hoping that like maybe closer to Christmas, if there's a little lull, I can maybe like push those out so people can hear them at least. Because only one of them is a new song. The rest of them, the other two are acoustic covers of songs that people really love of Evil Walks. So it's just like a little vanity project for me. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on there.
A busy second half of 2025 coming up for Leah Martin Brown. A lot of new music coming.
Lots,
Lots of it.
lots.
All right, we're going to wrap up with five questions for Leah Martin Brown. Your favorite drink?
Oh, I'm gonna say an iced green tea or maybe like an iced lychee boba tea with popping jelly and boba and aloe vera.
Mm, very nice. Favorite female vocalist of all time.
Of all time, I definitely would say Amy Lee.
If you weren't in music, which you said you've been doing since you were a child, what would you be doing, Leah?
I don't know if I'd exist. Um, I would open, I would be the strange and unusual owner of a cozy bookstore that also sold weird esoteric items that also had a coffee shop and a venue in the basement.
Nice. Very nice. I like that. Big book person too. My library's behind your photo here in
Oh,
the
nice.
backdrop, yes. Favorite curse word?
Can I say it here?
Hmm.
Fuck. Love that word.
First concert you ever went to?
Ooh. So it's the first concert I'm gonna say the first concert I like fully remember going to
Hmm.
because I vaguely remember others and I'm not gonna admit to those. So I'm gonna say I think it was the Butterfly Effect, the Living End, and I cannot remember that other band. Uh, and I went with my stepdad and my mum when I was like 12 or 13.
In Australia, of course.
In Australia,
Yeah.
yeah, in Australia.
All right, Leah Martin Brown. LeahMartinBrown.com is the website. She's all of her social too, on Instagram. And the single that is out now is Are You Chicken with a video to go along with it. Check that out. More singles to come, an album to come as well. Leah, thanks for joining me here on the Metal Queens podcast.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Steve. I've actually had the best time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And thank you for watching the Metal Queens podcast. I'm Steve Richards.